Namaskar, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, students, scholars, teachers, trainers, professors, professionals, officials, business others. I welcome all respected student directors. I welcome all honorable advocates, representative district advisors. I welcome honorable ministers, managers. Dr. Rakesh from USA, heartily cordially welcome. Really nice time, nice place, nice section that we are describing our holy Indian spiritual, cultural, social, educational, constitutional identity in the form of unity and diversity. Dear friends, as you know that our India, our nation is known by its spiritual values. All over the world, in all the holy scriptures, nature is appreciated, nature is worshipped, admired, praised. Our body, our physical existence does exist because of five elements. And we feel presence of supreme power, God or God in these five elements. It is said in all our holy scriptures of this holy land. And India proud on its great message to the worldly people. India provides, gives peace of mind and purity of heart to the worldly people. And it is said that humanity is our religion, humanity is our caste. So let us go through humanitarianly. Shimla accounts for harbour of HPs and cross forest land from Kullu. Shimla is the world's main forest encroachment in Himachal Pradesh with around 1839 hectares of forest land under illegal occupations. Devastating storm claimed 117 lives, damaged homes across UP from Lucknow. A devastating thunderstorm that swept across Pradesh on Wednesday left behind a trail of destruction. Killing as many as 117 people. According to data released by the Uttar Pradesh Relief Commissioner's Office, 113 deaths occurred due to violent storms and collapsing structures, while 4 people lost their lives in lightning strikes. The disaster, which unfolded on Wednesday afternoon, also left 79 injured, caused the death of 117 animals, and damaged 330 houses across several districts. The most affected district was Prayagraj, where 23 people died after strong winds. Uprooted trees, collapsed walls, and damaged houses. Mirzapur followed with 19 deaths, while Sant Ravidas Nagar recorded 16 casualties and Fatehpur reported 11 deaths. Districts including Raebareli, Unnao and Bhutan also witnessed significant loss of life. The India Meteorological Department reported wind speeds touching nearly cyclonic levels in several districts. Bareilly and Prayagraj recorded gusts of UP to 130 kilometers per hour, among the highest measured in the state in recent years. She raises Taiwan based in talks with Trump from Beijing. यूएई पर हुए हमले के खिलाफ पीएम एक्सप्रेसेस भारत और यूएई के बीच में कई बड़े समझौते। मस्जिद नहीं मंदिर है, धार का गौशाला, धार गौशाला मंदिर भी है। सरकार को इंग्लैंड से वाघे देवी की प्रतिमा वापस लाने का भी निर्देश। सरकार को ऐतिहासिक संरचनाओं के संरक्षण की जिम्मेदारी। कोर्ट ने एएसआई के वैज्ञानिक सर्वेक्षण को भरोसा जताया। गौशाला पर फैसला, धार में जश्न, धार गौशाला धार स्थित एएसआई संरक्षित ऐतिहासिक स्मारक है। गौशाला गौशाला मंदिर और काशी मथुरा बाकी। शिक्षा मंत्री गौशाला पर हाईकोर्ट का फैसला, हिंदू पक्ष की बड़ी जीत। ब्रिक्स देश बैठक में वैश्विक शासन में सुधार, ऊर्जा सुरक्षा पर हुई चर्चा। MIA के अकॉर्डिंग पेट्रोल और डीजल 3 रुपये प्रति लीटर महंगा हुआ। अब नमाज नहीं, लंदन से आएगी वाघे देवी की मूर्ति। पंचमी जैसे अवसरों पर पूजा को लेकर तनाव और विवाद होते रही। फैसले से पहले धार जिले में धारा 163 लागू थी। भोजशाला विवाद की कहानी, 5 से अधिक लोगों के इकट्ठा होने और धरना जुलूस पर थी पाबंदी। गौशाला मंदिर करार, हिंदुओं को पूजा का अधिकार। आगे कर मामला, पश्चिम बंगाल सरकार की बड़ी कार्रवाई। याचिका साल 2022 में दाखिल हुई थी। 3 IPS अधिकारी मामले की जांच। केरल में 26 मई को दक्षिण पश्चिमी मानसून के आने की संभावना। IMD से मंदिर नहीं मस्जिद है, धार का भोजशाला। उसके ताजा मामलों में यूक्रेन, प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी का UAE दौरा। मुस्लिमों पर नहीं, हिंदुओं की है भोजशाला। मोदी देवी के राष्ट्रपति से की मुलाकात। गौशाला और फैसला, धार में जश्न। से यूएई पर हुए हमले की निंदा करते हैं। भारत और यूएई के बीच में कई बड़े मुद्दा समझौते। रणनीतिक रक्षा साझेदारी के ढांचे पर हुआ समझौता। गौशाला पर हाईकोर्ट का फैसला, हिंदू पक्ष की बड़ी जीत। 21 जून को होगी नीट यूजी 2026 की पुनर्परीक्षा। आज हिंदू और मुस्लिम पक्षों के बीच और से चल रहा था। नमाज नहीं, लंदन से आएगी। मुसलमानों की नहीं, हिंदुओं की है गौशाला, हिंदू का गौशाला। तो संत पंचमी जैसे अवसरों पर पूजा को लेकर तनाव और विवाद होते रहे। ब्रिक्स देशों की विदेश मंत्रियों की बैठक का हुआ समापन दिल्ली से। बैठक में वैश्विक शासन में सुधार, ऊर्जा सुरक्षा पर हुई चर्चा। 5 से अधिक लोगों इकट्ठा और धरना जुलूस पर की पाबंदी। सप्लाई चेन मजबूत करने और आतंकवाद के खिलाफ सहयोग बढ़ाने का रवैया। गौशाला पर हाईकोर्ट का फैसला, हिंदू पक्ष की बड़ी जीत। आज गौशाला मंदिर है। पेट्रोल और डीजल 3 रुपये प्रति लीटर महंगा हुआ। अब नमाज में से आएगी वाघे देवी की ट्रंप और शी जिनपिंग के बीच दूसरे दिन की वार्ता जारी। From Beijing, China's Xi Jinping told President Donald Trump that trade talks were making progress at the start of a two-day summit on Thursday, but mentioned that disagreement over Taiwan would send relations down a dangerous path and even lead to conflict. His remarks on Taiwan, the democratically governed island claimed by Beijing, came in a close door meeting of the leaders of the world's two largest economies that ran more than 2 hours, China's foreign ministry shared. They represented a stark, if not unprecedented, warning during a kind occasion that was otherwise friendly and relaxed. Although the US summary of the talks made no mention of Taiwan, instead it focused on the leader's shared desire to reopen the key waterway of the Strait of Hormuz, effectively closed due to the Iran war and Xi's apparent interest in buying American oil, with Trump's approval ratings dented by war with Iran. The first visit by a US president to China in nearly a decade has taken an added significance as he searches for economic wins. Ban on sugar exports to boost domestic supply. India has banned the export of sugar till September 30 this year with immediate effect, which would help enhance domestic availability and contain prices. Earlier, the exports were under a restricted category under which the license was required for the outbound shipments. Missing Delhi tourist from Delhi Malana from Kulu, the body of the 24-year-old Delhi tourist Mohit Chaudhary was found Thursday in a rivulet near Malana 4 days after he went missing from Madhya Pradesh's Parvati Valley in Kulu district. Two suspects held in another glass case from Jalandhar. Punjab police have arrested two suspects in connection with the May 5 explosion outside the BSF Punjab frontier headquarters in Jalandhar. Police identified the suspects as Anil Kumar from Muzaffarnagar, Uttar Pradesh and Umradin from Mohali. While senior officers remain tight-lipped, sources shared that two had traced the explosive material. Police suspect the duo to be part of a larger conspiracy involving additional planners and hunters. Two drove in bid to cross over to Park. Two dead car calls to George in Monday. प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी यूएई से नीदरलैंड्स के लिए हुए रवाना। जून को होगी यूजी 2026 की पुनर्परीक्षा। शिक्षा मंत्री आगामी परीक्षा में 0 फीस होगी। शिक्षा मंत्री से आगामी परीक्षा में 0 फीस होगी। परीक्षा का समय 15 मिनट बढ़ाया जाएगा। अगली बार नीट परीक्षा कंप्यूटर बेस्ड होगी। ब्रिक्स देशों की विदेश मंत्रियों की बैठक का हुआ समापन दिल्ली से। यही सोमनाथ है, यही भारत है। बैठक में वैश्विक शासन सुधार, ऊर्जा सुरक्षा, सप्लाई चेन मजबूत करने और आतंकवाद के खिलाफ सहयोग बढ़ाने पर हुई चर्चा। ऑपरेशन से दो पश्चिमी एशिया संकट को लेकर ब्रिक्स के कुछ देशों में सहमति नहीं बन पाई। पेट्रोल और डीजल 3 रुपये प्रति लीटर महंगा हुआ। ट्रंप और शी जिनपिंग के बीच दूसरे दिन की वार्ता जारी। धार गौशाला पर हाईकोर्ट की इंदौर खंडपीठ का बड़ा फैसला। और तेहार गौशाला बुलाना हिंदू मंदिर नमाज पढ़ने। आरजी पर मामला पश्चिम बंगाल सरकार की बड़ी कार्रवाई, 3 IPS सस्पेंड। 3 IPS अधिकारी मामले की जांच प्रभावित करने के आरोप में हुए निलंबित। रूस के ताजा मामलों में यूक्रेन में 21 लोगों की मौत। प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी का UAE दौरा। मोदी ने यूएई के राष्ट्रपति से की मुलाकात। भारत और यूएई के बीच हुए कई बड़े समझौते। रणनीतिक रक्षा साझेदारी के ढांचे पर हुआ समझौता। रणनीतिक पेट्रोलियम भंडार और एलपीजी की आपूर्ति पर भी हुआ MOU। यूएई पर नए हमलों की हमने एक बार फिर कड़े शब्दों में निंदा की है, PM सेज। प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी यूएई से इंडिपेंडेंस के लिए हुए रवाना। 21 जून को होगी नीट यूजी 2026 की पुनर्परीक्षा। आगामी परीक्षा में 0 फीस होगी, शिक्षा मंत्री एक्सप्लेन्स। WFH Metro Monday, Delhi CM called for saving fuel. Delhi CM Rekha Gupta Thursday announced a slew of measures including 2 days of work from home for government officials, use of metro trains on Monday by ministers and officers, and a voluntary no vehicle day every week. Gupta said the government has drawn an extensive plan under Mera Bharat, Mera Yogdan to implement the appeal of Mr. Modi for saving fuel, wise expenditure. He said private sector will also be requested to follow 2-day WFH. The government also decided to cancel all officials foreign visits by ministers for 1 year. In view of the changes in vehicle use, the timings of the Delhi government and MCD offices have also been changed. Suspense ends on date. Satizan as next year of Kerala from New Delhi. The Congress on Thursday named VD Satisan as the next Chief Minister of Kerala. Any tale of suspense and speculation for the post. The decision was announced here at a press conference by AICC in charge of Kerala, Deepa Dasmunsi and the party's central observers for the state, Ajay Mehkan and Mukul Vashni, as well as Congress General Secretary in charge Communications, Jairam Ramesh. Based on the discussion, it had been decided that VD Satisan being appointed as the leader of the CLP, Desh Tasu Munsi called protest. Gender equality doesn't apply to religious rights. Pro-religious practice suspend. The center told the 9-judge Supreme Court bench that the constitutional mandate under Article 25(1) entitling all persons equal freedom of conscience and the right freely to profess, practice and propagate religion did not provide for gender equality, reports Dhananjay Mahapatra. In his rejoining, Solicitor General Tushar Mehta told the bench of CJI Suryakanth and Justice B.V. Navarathan, MM Sundaresh, independent person should be part of CEC appointment panel, Supreme Court says from New Delhi. Questioning the appointment process for Chief Election Commissioner or Election Commissioner, where the panel of PM, a cabinet minister and the leader of opposition pick the candidates. Supreme Court on Thursday said that the present system allows the government to appoint a person of its choice as two out of three members would favor it and ask government why this show off about independence is appointment process is said that an independent person should be made part of panel in place of minister. Referring to Supreme Court's earlier direction that the panel should comprise of PM, CBI and LOP. The bench of justices, Dipanshu Gupta and Satish Chandra Sharma, said that it was not necessary that the CBI participate in the process, but some independent person has to be part of it or the presence of the LOP would become just ornamental. It said that when the CBI director is appointed by an independent panel of PM, CGI and LOP, then why should the same not be the practice for CBC or PCs, which is more important as the institution is involved in upholding democracy and ensuring free and fair elections in the country. Though Attorney General PCC or PCs arises from after their appointment, the bench however said that it started from the appointment process itself. The court said that the whole panel should not only act as neutral but should also appear neutral. Why should a minister from the cabinet be part of it? Let us assume the ruling party has 300 MPs. The PM takes 25 of its best. Now, micromanage it and bring one from the 25. Why do you then include the leader of the opposition? He is ornamental. A minister will never push the PM. It will always be decided by ratio 1. By this show of independence in the body, the bench of judge, the court examining the validity of law, US authorities may drop fraud cases done from New Delhi. US authorities are moving to resolve the allegation of fraud against Adani Group chairman Gautam Adani, bring to an end the case which has been lingering for more than a year, according to sources in the US Justice Department. Securities and Exchange Commission is also moving to settle a parallel civil fraud case if brought against the millennial investigation and others in November 2024, according to people in the matter. While the Justice Department could effectively move to drop the charges with the defendants out of the country, the resolution to the SCEC would likely involve a monetary penalty. Sources said the case brought by SEC alongside a criminal complaint by DOJ alleges Adani sought to pay over $250 million in bribes to Indian officials to secure solar energy contracts and conceal the scheme on US investors and banks when they raised funds. The counsel for Adani said there was no credible evidence supporting the alleged bribery scheme. India flags serious concerns over West Asia crisis, unilateral sanctions. EMA urges BRICS unity amid energy and shipping race. From New Delhi, India on Thursday flagged grave concern over the West Asia crisis and its impact on energy supplies and maritime stability in the state of Hormuz and urged BRICS nations to develop practical ways to navigate unprecedented geopolitical and economical uncertainty as well as unilateral or issue sections. In his address at the opening day of a two-day BRICS conclave in New Delhi, External Affairs Minister as the Shankar asserted without naming specific nations that respect for sovereignty and territorial integrity must enter international relations, maintaining that dialogue and diplomacy offer the only sustainable path to conflict resolution. The Shankar said India stands ready to contribute constructively towards the escalation efforts and to support initiatives aimed at restoring stability while noting that peace cannot be piecemeal and it is essential to uphold international law, protect civilians and avoid targeting public infrastructure. He also underlined the importance of new members fully appreciating and subscribing to the BRICS consensus mechanism on various important issues, remarks that came amid sharp differences between the United Arab Emirates and Iran over the West Asia conflict. It is learned that there were heated exchanges between Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi and UAE's Minister of State for Foreign Affairs Khalifa Shahid AI Marat during the Naka 2 session that the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov intervened to cool the tempers. Iran and UAE have been sparing in recent weeks over planned Israeli attacks on energy infrastructure in the UAE that has resulted in BRICS coming out with a consensus statement on the West Asia crisis. BRICS originally comprising Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa expanded in 2024 to include Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran and UAE, with Indonesia joining in 2025. MEA condemned the attack on Indian ship of Oman from Delhi. An Indian planned commercial vessel has come under attack off the coast of Oman, but all its 14 crew members are safe, the Ministry of External Affairs said on Thursday. It is not immediately known who carried out the strike on the vessel on Wednesday. The MEA described the attack as unacceptable. The attack on an Indian flagged ship off the coast of Oman yesterday is unacceptable, and we deplore the fact that commercial shipping and civilian mariners continue to be targeted. It shared all India crew on board are safe, and we thank the Omani authorities for rescuing them. It shared. And he said targeting commercial shipping and endangering civilian crew members should be avoided. Punjab Haryana water loan revision begins June 15. EC says. Bill to pass water list in Punjab. Of said Punjab Finance Minister Vital Singh Chima accused BJP on Thursday of plotting to use election commission to manipulate water list. He alleged the BJP intends to conduct the SIR exercise to edit water and seize power in the state. From New Delhi of Chandigarh, Punjab and Haryana are among 16 states and 3 union territories where special intensive division of electoral rolls will be taken up between May and December. Election Commission announced Thursday. The exercise in Punjab and Haryana will formally begin on June 15. Door-to-door enumeration by booth-level officers, BLOs, will place from June 25 to July 24 in Punjab, while Haryana's month-long exercise will run from June 15 till July 14. Final electoral rolls will be published in Haryana on September 22 and October 1 in Punjab. Punjab Assembly elections are due in early 2027. SIR3 which will verify eligibility of a total 36.7 crore electors will be carried out in a phased manner across Odisha, Mizoram, Sikkim, Manipur, Uttarakhand, Andhra Pradesh, Arunachal Pradesh, Telangana, Karnataka, Meghalaya, Maharashtra, Jharkhand, Nagaland, and Tripura. Besides the two other states, it will also include the UTs of Delhi, Chandigarh, and Dadra and Nagar Haveli, and Daman and Diu. The schedule for SIR Phase 3 has been drawn up by DC, keeping in mind the census 2027 schedule and the common field machinery involved in SIR and the ongoing house listing phase of census commission held on Thursday. EC sources told TY that there shall be no change in methodology for SIR Phase 3 rules and instructions remain the same as those followed in SIR Phase 2 that had covered 12 states and UT. At a press conference in Chandigarh, Punjab, Chief Electoral Officer Anindita Mitra said 83.59% of the SIR mapping is already complete during the house phase. BLOs will visit each residence with enumeration form. This and each BLO would be assigned an average of 300 houses and a maximum of 1200 voters. Or the exercise, even if a voter was part of the mapping exercise, every person currently on the 125 list must fill out the enumeration form with the share. If a resident is not home, BLOs are required to visit at least 3 times. Names that cannot be verified will be placed on an ASDD list, absent, shifted, banned, or duplicate, which will be shared with political parties to ensure transparency before any deletions occur with the share. The 120th birth anniversary of Shaheed Education. Punjab government in respect to the Great Freedom Fight suspended MLA joins Bittu for flagging of train from Odisha. Record MC President joins art. Nova ex-mayor enters from the kingdom. SAD raises NOC issue ahead of civic calls from Odisha. Women arrested after minor's death due to forced drug laws from Bajika. 15-year-old mom handed drug bust from Firozpur. Punjab cops trying to obstruct young religious went from Jalandhar. Two drowned in Satluj while crossing to park from Firozpur. Interested by Guru Sahib Ban on anti-separatist law from Patala. Ban pushes for border security from Chile. From C that after announces SIR in Punjab, call it bid to manipulated water was claimed to date from Chandigarh. Assembly division in Haryana from June 15 from Chennai. Punjab Finance Minister Qasim Sinha says that SIA tells the ECI into states it cannot find routes in the name of revising water ditch. The 2 crore people of Punjab will guidedly expose the anti-Punjab face of the BJP. Amrinder Singh Rajabadi Punjab Congress says Bihar and West Bengal election has proved it beyond any doubt that the BJP government has strengthened with the help of a compliant EC can swing the electoral outcome in its favor. High Court questions petitioners standing on High Court petitioners standing to move court against Tata Trust from Mumbai. The legal challenge to the board officer Ratan Tata Trust from Berlin, the Bombay High Court on Wednesday, after judges questioned whether the petitioner had any standing to litigate the case at all. The investments are 33% to $19.6 billion in 25 IPO deals. The number of companies that are getting evaluated is also pretty muted. Diligence has been slower than was seen historically. The top 10 cities account for nearly half of India's AI usage, despite representing less than 10% of the population, while large parts of the country remain largely unchecked by AI services. Air India to cut additional 145 weekly international flights from New Delhi. International connectivity to and from India will see sharp drop this summer with Air India. Air India is set to suspend an additional about 145 weekly flights between this June and August. Uber to set up its first in-car data center in Adani Group. From Bangalore, the announcement comes amid a surge in India data center investments driven by growing demand for AI, cloud, and high-performance computing infrastructure. HPCL profit in question for jumps 38%, announces dividend from New Delhi. EV dispatched in April up 25% on strong demand with high concern of high commodity prices from New Delhi. Short-term pain in store for dwellers from Mumbai. Price hike evident. If oil rates stay high, the message Governor Malhotra says flexible inflation targeting may not be enough to replace it. Government has been prudent. Sanjay Malhotra is government may need to hike fuel prices. If the conflict in West Asia drags on, government has followed fiscally prudent policies, so it is only a matter of time before high oil prices are passed on hopefully. It's important for fiscal and monetary policy to coordinate at this time. Sanjay Malhotra, RB Governor says, at its April monetary policy review. RBI decided to wait and watch. It was early days then. Monetary policy will need to remain nimble and flexible. Central banks need to be cautious, follow a policy of gradualism in the face of heightened uncertainty. Short-term pain in store for dwellers. Price sensitive, entry-level consumers and first-time buyers to get it. Exchange and purchases to become dominant going ahead until prices, until prices stabilize. Dwellers pushing sales of gold, carotid gold, which requires low quantity of pure gold. Sensex of nearly 790, case telecom bank stocks gain. Potential government steps to mitigate weakness, boost sentiment on Mumbai. ECB filings house to $5.43 billion in March RBSA. Intermediate steel along by double from Rom, Barker 100-point brilliant in Dosh at Alavish from Madrid, Soish named junior man coach from Bengaluru, Eddie after former Indian Wells junior hockey coach Riyaz Sudesh question, hockey beyond being 100, Farid of the team, again the Federation on Thursday named his successor. She is still alive but made Arsenal slip over Delong from Manchester. Sindhu Lakshya Satwik Dragon Kavabes from Times News Network. I am excited to be back. Super Kings look to continue playoff push from Lucknow. Narvash only opened duty from Raipur. Lion played it on drop chances from Raipur. Higher perspectives resolve contradiction. Astronauts Sunita Williams observed that from space, Earth appears as one and you do not see man-made borders. You see them only when you are done to Earth. Your perspective changing in space. Your perspective changes in space. Reconcile my higher perspective at first Upanishads seem to be full of contradiction. They are systematized thoughts, philosophy of Upanishads, says Brahma Sutra. The apparent differences found in Upanishads are reconciled in Brahma Sutra. Finally, Acharyas Shankara, Ramanuja, Niyambaka, Vallabha and Madhya and Madhva differ in their interpretation of Upanishads in relation to the nature of Brahman. The relationship of individual soul to Brahman solves the state during final menstruation, means of pertaining it and its causality with reference to the universe, but they all emphatically declare that Brahman is the cause of the world and that knowledge of Brahman leads to moksha, final emancipation, who is the goal of life. This is the goal of life, says Swami Shivananda. One finds apparent contradiction while studying the scripture. Now, on one hand, scriptures say that one must transcend the mind and intellect to realize the supreme truth which is eternal, abstract, infinite, all prevailing. On the other hand, it is said that knowledge of supreme reality arises only in a purified mind or intellect as Brahmakarvriti, it is said that in deep sleep, one experiences the wish of self but not know, but doesn't know it because the mind and intellect are not functioning. Mind is described as warped and enemy of a person leading to bondage and dimension. Mind perceives not good or bad, and is pure and gross mind creates bondage, while a pure and settled mind is an instrument for salvation. This applies to intellect too. While explaining creation, it is held that Brahman is the ultimate causeless cause of creation, referred to as Arjuna, Nimitta, Upadana, non-different material and efficient causes of the world. In other instances, it is held that creation is a mere appearance and illusion like a perceived snake in a rope or a mirage in the picture. But one realizes that the experienced world is also unreal. Like the dream world upon growing period, it is not given much attention or importance. It is always proceeds from known to the unknown, from gross to subtle. Vedanta has Adharop and Apval Supri. Superimposition and negation. Power truths also referred to as Anatma or non-self are central because on the highest Brahman and Atma. You must first accept the relative apparent truth that the obvious is and proceed with root cause analysis called Laya Chintan. Cause is inherent in effect, but effect is not independent of cause. Cause is self-existent and higher truth, whereas effect is dependent existence and represents a lower truth. Exemplified by clay and a form or gold and ornaments, Swami Krishnananda says that appearances have reality in them, but reality is different from appearances. Appearances do not exist in the absolute even as adjectives, for it cannot have adjective other than itself. Most truths revealed in the phenomenal world are relative due to the limitations of our roots, tools, methodologies, and interpretation of results. We approach the phenomenal truth from a few dimensions known to us, whereas truth has multiplied or infinite dimension. Hence, we conclude our relative or fractional truth as final, like perceiving part of an elephant as a whole organism. Calcutta's new chromosome blueprint for Bengal. 60 years of leftism and you see leftism killed the city and state's economic vitality, but a revival isn't hard. Policy needs to build on moribund industrial bases and stock exchange plus prioritize learning English. A week after Bengal's momentous electoral earthquake, as I dined at a Bangla Chinese restaurant in Singapore, the Bengali owner declared our meal would be on the house to celebrate the state's deliverance from 6 decades of economic blight. For 2 centuries until the mid-1960s, Kolkata was a magnet for businessmen and workers searching for opportunity. But for the past 60 years, the flow reversed, polarizing Bengalis to flee worldwide as opportunities dried up in their home state. The new found left design could overturn that relentless side of decline. Here are some economic pointers. First, Kolkata still has high quality private hospitals and doctors who provide the nucleus of a potentially successful health tourism sector. Bangladeshi patients provide the primary customer base of health tourists today. The quality private hospitals can be expanded to cater to refugees from UK, NHS and turning costs for surgical procedures in US and EU. Second, Labour March reforms codified nationally last November. It will be implemented in Bengal to capitalize on its vast reservoir of relatively cheap but currently underemployed workers, labor-intensive manufacturing of garments, textiles and shoes, who build on a historic legacy. Shoes and leather products from Bata Nagar and Kolkata's Chinatown would be resuscitated via collaboration with UAE to knock Taiwan the global leader in outsourced shoe manufacturing, which has moved much of its production from China, Vietnam and Indonesia. But Bangladesh's success in garments exports began with Korea. Collaboration 4 decades ago, most of the leading garment exports from Bangladesh were perceived to be excessively close to Awami League, so their top executives were jailed by the Yunus regime. Bengal should encourage these family enterprises to diversify across their western border, producing garments in Bengal for global markets to which they have better access through decades of experience. In turn, a revival of Bengal's cotton and silk textile industry would also dovetail nicely into arguments garment export possibility. For 102 decades ago, the remnants of southern Bengal's engineering, goods and chemical sectors were still alive. Reviving them is a matter of taking back the talent that took flight amid leftism. As a hub of marine engineers, Kolkata should be. a natural leader in shipbuilding and ship repair. Japan and Korea are finding their decades of leadership in shipbuilding, including amid competition from China, Mitsubishi, Hyundai, Heavy and Daewoo shipbuilders should be incentivized to explore collaboration to test expensive engineering and technical talent around Kolkata to make it a competitive shipbuilding hub. Singapore's ship repair yards could also be encouraged to move more of their work to Kolkata. This would eventually also enhance defense manufacturing potential at Garden Reach yards if the two remaining corporate stalwarts still headquartered in Kolkata are IDC and Exide. The latter ought to become the hub of much larger scale battery manufacturing for the age of electric vehicle, collaborating with end users like Tata Motors and Mahindra, and technical collaboration with Korea, Japan, and selectivity with China are to security waiting. Value adding in agriculture, including streamlining the farm to retail supply chain and consumer goods, are areas where ITC and Dover ought to be embraced to expand their footprint in the state. Since the working of Kolkata's financial sector has accelerated in recent decades, the revival could start by converting the American Kolkata Stock Exchange into a decade player trading commodity futures and options and initiating derivatives trading on Asian stocks and bonds. Kolkata could thus become the eastern financial complement to Mumbai's stock trading. Call India and Hindustan Copper Steel headquartered in Kolkata, Vedanta and ArcelorMittal distant roots in the city and an abundance of minerals in the hinterland, creating a Calcutta mercantile exchange is a logical step. Seventh, in North Bengal, tea and tourism need to complement each other. State government should create a fund to help tea states build their brands and packaging skills so that the vast gap between auction and retail prices can be narrowed. The enormous tourism potential of the Dodge, Darjeeling, Kasyong and Kalimpong needs to be sensitively tapped. Providing the experiences without straining down further aid for the medium term, reviving the education sector is essential to achieving all the above. I am Calcutta and IIT Kharagpur were thankfully outside state government's limit, but making merit rather than ideology the basis of state-supported education and embedding English in schools through the new education policy are essential to the broad development of Bengal's and innovative intellectual potential. Lastly, the state's massive debt burden makes private capital essential in every sector. So, our conducive investment climate needs to be rapidly established. Bengali entrepreneurship may sound like an oxymoron today, but Dwarkanath Tagore was a private equity pioneer. A century and a half before that town became commonplace. Bengal Chemicals, Ducklack, Indian Iron and Steel, the first private company we ever received a World Bank loan from for were among eminent Bengali companies issued by the communist era to begin with the national and international capital. Must clearly endorsed by Bengali entrepreneurship is surely kicked in eventually attracting tech leaders who fled in the 1960s. Need not need. It's inexplicable why the industry hasn't moved to overall management. Model testing body NPA has facilities built. It is not a statutory body accountability fee. It is highly dependent on consensual employees and has no watchdog overseeing it. Given NPA conducts at least 15 national level exams, its very foundation is weak. These are points that emerge after every paper leak. Yet the Vice Ministry of Education has issued in limo and youngsters would have so therefore materials to sit for various tests for the 23 dark medical aspirants this year. Is there any guarantee pre-test wouldn't suffer a similar fate? Going by the shuffling of feet in both Ministry and NPA, this is hardly the last day. It's not safe to assume that in 2025 in some corner question paper was installed, given accuracy of 21, 24, 26. It's more likely no one was called in the years between the MO didn't knew nor have any of the lacunae identified for years being plugged. That's why raises questions and eyebrows. First, why foreign any of the ways to minimize the risk of paper leaks, including 101 suggestions by 2024 Jalakishan Committee implemented. Why hasn't NP moved to less expensive, obvious and tried and tested ways to nullify risk of paper leak? During reading more rocket science of solve, how many word and expiring by? And a set cost of about 10 lakh rupees. Third by after second and PhD bid 24 did GID the post without a full-time director until March 26. Finally went inside and with following crop on entrance exams are an industry. Coaching, hostel, books, publishers, ad-tech, apps, the sandbox, and with that the profitable exam mafia. ROI on buying question paper is used if you make a grade government college cost effection of private medical study. Given a small fee can change things. Given the state ministry's cost loan reform, despite so many leaks of various anti-conducted exams, it is inexplicable. And it's mysterious why so many trapdoors remain wide open when vulnerabilities are fully reported as exactly weak link in the chain of custody of need paper, perhaps the push needed will come from students who must be compensated for MBA's failure to conduct an exam as 4 years now fairly. Why austerity? New India doesn't know what it means. Price signals are a better way to influence its consumption choices. Austerity is this week's buzzword, but if majorities define society, it's fair to say India doesn't know what austerity is anymore. That's because two of every three Indians, a supermajority living today, were born after 1991. The year of liberalization, the year we as a nation decided we hadn't enough of poverty, shortages and austerity, as Manmohan Singh, finance minister at the time, said in his budget speech. Austerity was still needed to accumulate capital, but it need not be negation of life or a dry, arid creed that lasted the painful eye on joy and laughter. And the austere Indian state was notorious for being enjoyed then. Our March for 1991 edition reported that LODs of the new Maruti 1000 Sedan were avoiding deliveries for fear of income tax rates. LODs, yes, car ownership in that age of perpetual scarcity required patience and luck. Besides renegades, we have managed scarcity. And how Bajaj Autos 2001 annual report mentioned monthly capacity of 50,000 bikes. Last month the company sold to 1 lakh dealers in India and 2.3 lakh abroad. Overall, roughly 24 lakh bikes were made in the country in April 26. Everything available off the shelf, even fuel, 3 months into the Hormuz crisis. So no, we don't know what austerity is, and that's an achievement, not a party. Not a feeling, but doesn't it leave us is equipped to deal with high import cost at a weakening rupee. Not Venu, BD, not Wait, not quite Rishi. Congress High Commands raising the fall, confirming Sati Hassan as Kedar CM has taken the shine of the party's prostrate profile and is a bad sign for the future. BD Satisan rise as the most popular political figure in Kerala. Now CM designate cannot be understood merely through the conventional language of electoral arithmetic or anti-incumbency. His popularity arose from a deeper political shift, transformation of opposition politics from his cause centered on administrative freedom and developmental activities into one organized around dignity, democratic anxiety, social recognition, and effective reassurance. At a moment when Kerala's public sphere was increasingly marked by different community suspicion, minority insecurity, digital hate, and polarization. Satishi Satisan positioned himself as the face of a morally coherent and emotionally responsive opposition. Repeated invocations of Team UDF's foreign strictly rhetorical, but established political language that foregrounded coalition building, collective leadership, and organizational unity against nationalism. Within Congress itself, unlike many mainstream political veterans who often adopted ambiguous or cautious positions in confronting communal rhetoric in Kerala, Satisan consistently articulated a visual confrontational secular politics. He openly challenged what many minority communities perceived as a moral as normalization of minority phobia. His repeated criticism of figures such as Malapli and Tishan, along with this questioning of Italians' public proximity to such personalities acquired symbolic significance beyond political controversy, context of dignity. Sati Sam grasped a fundamental transformation taking place within Kerala's political culture. The gradual shift from welfare-centric politics to dignity-centric politics, while the electoral left continue to rely heavily on a welfare from development narrative, emphasizing infra-governance efficiency and state delivery. Large section of Kerala's youth, minorities, Dalits, women and marginalized communities increasingly articulated a different political aspiration, a desire for dignity, recognition and secure democratic belonging. While welfare politics primarily addresses material distribution, Satisan understood the significance of dignity politics. This addressed question of humiliation, fear, symbolic exclusion, and recognition. This political language operated within this terrain. This shift became especially visible in the unprecedented consolidation of Muslim and Christian voters behind UDF, together constituting nearly half of Kerala's population. These communities increasingly viewed Sun as a political figure attentive to their energetic and aspiration. Issues such as debates surrounding war, lands, Christian institutions, and none in different parts of India. The proliferation of communally charged digital propaganda and the continued visibility of anti-minority rhetoric collectively produced a heightened sense of insecurity in the state. This unprecedented consolidation was not merely communitarian in the narrow sense. Rather, it reflected a broader perception that religious dignity itself was under strain. Kerala's political consciousness also shaped this consolidation. Unlike many parts of India, where welfare benefits are often framed as acts of state industry, Kerala is historically politicized society integrate towards welfare and entitlement. This political sensibility is historically rooted in Kerala's long genealogy of anti-caste and dignity-centered reform movement. Partisan discussion and conversation consciously or otherwise resonated within this longer historical tradition, creating a special bond with communities that felt vulnerable. It outreach to micro-social collective, particularly among Dalits and Adivasi communities, reflected an understanding that contemporary politics increasingly operates through dispersed network of recognition rather than centralized vote bank mobilization alone. Similarly, Satisan was able to communicate in diagram of millennials and Gen Z voters, local voters in Kerala, sought political futures grounded in inclusion, aspiration, democratic freedoms, and cultural confidence, not nostalgic celebrations of past. Satisan's repeated emphasis on the future Kerala's distinguished him from other leaders who focused primarily on defending the achievements of the present. Paris spoke one with such an extraordinary electoral victory and unprecedented popular support for Satishan, it became incomprehensible for many why Congress High Command took such a long time to finalize who would be CM. The delay emerged from the entry of Venugopal and Siddhartha, who attempted to test their politically possibilities for the position, citing support of MLA and organizational seniority respectively. However, they were never central to the public imagination of this electoral transition. They were not perceived as the ideological face of the movement that mobilized voters against communism, administrative fatigue, caste anxieties, and what was described as LDF's algorithm-driven political spectacle, where the central leadership could not entirely ignore their claimed and institutional location within the party structure. At the same time, High Command appeared determined not to repeat their political mistakes by ignoring a popular mandate to some prominent Congress veteran from Kerala, reportedly described as manufactured during discussion in Delhi. Public support apparently convinced by these claims amid thousands of emails, social media posts and public intervention. The leadership continued to examine this emerging discourse of manufacture as Kerala witnessed an unprecedented eruption of support regarding Satisan as the only acceptable choice for CM. These mobilizations also functioned as warning signals against a possible high command hijack of the people's mandate, recalling political destruction in states such as Andhra in 2009 and Rajasthan in 2018, within Kerala politically hyper-aware public sphere. Hundreds of social media discussions emerged arguing that such disjunctions between popular sentiment and leadership decisions could inflict irreversible damage on Congress in Kerala. Media reports further suggested that Congress High Command even sought professional expertise to determine whether report for Satisan was generally organic or artificially amplified, yet almost every past election CM preference survey indicated overwhelming support for him, often exceeding 80%, ultimately reaffirming the unmistakable ground heritage shaping Kerala's contemporary political imagination. Dealmaker at the Dragon Trump seeks to do business with Beijing from Washington. Americans were holding their breath as US President Donald Trump arrived in Beijing on Wednesday, not merely over the outcome of the summit with Chinese President Xi Jinping, but whether their own Mercurial head of Mercurial head of the state might stumble into another unscripted diplomatic or political controversy. The visit, the first by US President in nearly a decade, comes wrapped in imperial pomp and photographed grandeur, but underneath the ceremony lies the more transnational dignity. Trump is effectively in China hunting for trade deals that can ease economic anxieties at home, revive American exports ranging from Boeing aircraft and soybeans to ethanol, wheat and sorghum and calm waters threatened by the Iran conflict. The symbolism of the trip is striking. 8 years after Trump's first visit in 2017, he returns to a vastly altered geopolitical landscape in which Beijing increasingly presents itself not as a challenger but as a co-equal power, if not a superior one. To overcome the perceived loss of cover, yes, prestige, President Donald Trump has traveled to China with an unusually heavy delegation featuring technology and industrial titans, including Elon Musk, Johnson, Huang, and Tim Cook, a clear signal that despite the rhetoric of strategic competition, the White House wants to do business. Huang was earlier trip during a refueling stop in Alaska. After the media rooted his sense that several countries seeking better access to the Chinese market. The official delegation is staying less with China. Scholars then Kurdish and makers stress this secretary, Scott Bessent, Defense Secretary Patty Henson, and Trade Representative James Beer, and critics pointed to the relative absence of seasoned China experts from the core and George one Trump and viewing escape. You have no idea what you are talking about. You stop brave. Mouth breathing moron, stop calling yourself an expert in anything aside from sucking. White House Communications Director Stephen Hume at a former Obama administration official, underscoring sensitivities within a Trump White House, often accused of prioritizing loyalty over institutional knowledge. Bob Blackman calls on UK police to investigate video targeting Modi from London. A British MP is calling on the UK police to investigate a video by an extremist group, which has surfaced about a year later on social media, showing informative content about PM Modi. The video has triggered outrage among the Indian diaspora. A video from a year ago has already gone viral among Hindus in Leicester East, the scene of the 2022 Leicester riots. UnivProfDrRKSingmodi, convener of Hindu community organization group, told TY he said he was very good inside unrest among Hindus. Australian developer says toxic from hotel plants scraped. France insulated 1700 on ship over gastroenteritis from Paris. More than 1700 passengers and fuel British fuels ship were ordered to remain on board after an outbreak of gastrointestinal illness, French authorities said Wednesday. They discussed anything to get the virus outbreak on another vessel that has put European health authorities on alert. Gunshot at Philippine Senate where ICC wanted lawmaker to refuse from Manila. Cash denies leaking. Allegation in Senate from Washington. FBI Director Kash Patel angrily last out left out at a Democratic lawmakers at a budget hearing, Uday calling allegations that he drinks excessively on the job and had been unreachable to his staff at time unequivocally, categorically false. Bibi had secret talks with Emirati prince during war from Jerusalem. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu visited the UAE and met with the Emirati President during the war with Iran. A statement from the Prime Minister office said on Wednesday. OPT faces fresh heat in US amid fraud claims. The National Practical Training OPT program, a crucial post study was approved for thousands of international students in the US, is once again in the foremost years of America's immigration debate after federal authorities released widespread fraud and abuse within the system. US immigration authorities claim to have identified more than 10,000 students linked to highly suspect employers across the country in a sharply worded briefing acting Director of US Immigration and Commission Enforcement Fraud Leons described the OPT program as a magnet for fraud and warned of criminal, civil and immigration consequences for those found abusing the system. Today we are announcing that we have identified over 10,000 foreign students who claim to be working for highly suspect employers. And that's just among the top 25 OPT employers beyond the said in the briefing. Immigration lawyers and immigration experts have found that while fraudulent consultancies and fake starting arrangements do exist within the OTP ecosystem. The overwhelming majority of international students use the program legitimately to gain work experience after graduating from accredited US institutions. The latest breakdown is expected to fuel long-standing political efforts contra by conservative groups to scale back or eliminate the program altogether. The idea of cutting back the OTP program had first emerged during Trump's earlier presidency. The administration 2020 spring agenda more recently last April, Congressman Paul Gosher had introduced a bill in the House to eliminate the OPT program on the grounds that it completely undercuts American workers, particularly higher skilled workers and recent college graduates, by giving employers a tax incentive to hire the expensive foreign labor under the guise of student training. In the backdrop of this, do you think PPG Devon's cost economics? Another great win for task force will not tolerate foreign nationals using our visa system at the expense of American people. OPT allows international students on F1 visas to work for a year in the US after graduation. Students in STEM fields can obtain an additional 24 months extension beyond the initial 12 months of OPT. The extended period of OPT for STEM students is in particular viewed by Trans-Hard Line supports as a program that takes away jobs from blockade. According to the latest government laws report for 24-25, 3.6 lakh Indian students were studying in the US, as many as 1.4 lakh were participating in the OPT program. A significant number of which were in STEM OPT. International students, including innocent students, victims are labeled as guilty of fraud under the secret OPT scam funding of US agencies, secret because the names of the affected employees are not made public under the advised policy, which was reported by TY last March. Notices can be issued to students who in the past underwent or are undergoing OPT with blacklisted companies. This can result in arrest, detention and deportation. Various leaders say while at least twice student is gainfully employed with an H-1B visa. The recent briefing on OPT scam has triggered anxiety among international students, especially Indian students who are the largest cohort. According to ICE officials, investigators found alleged employers operating from empty websites, job building, shared addresses, and even residential homes was going under the foreign students authorities also claimed some firms lacked proper employment records and showed signs of financial difficulty. The agency further alleged that some companies listed offshore HR and payroll teams based in India and that in certain cases the students claiming to work for US firms were actually being paid by companies operating from India. We had secret talks with Emirates during war. Trump says no need for China's help on Iran. We will win it, win it, we will win it one way or the other peacefully or otherwise. Washington or Dubai. US President Donald Trump has said he does not expect to need China's help to end the war in Iran and he is set on the state of Hormuz. In demands made before he arrived in Beijing on Wednesday for a summit with President Xi Jinping. The war is expected to feature in talks between Trump and Xi over the next 2 days, but Trump downplayed Beijing's potential role in ending the conflict. It has choked off traffic to a key waterway that typically carries about one-fifth of the world's oil supply. I don't think we need any help with Iran. We will win it one way or the other, peacefully or otherwise, he told reporters in Washington before departing for China. Iran has appeared to firm up its control over the state of Hormuz in recent days, cutting deals with Iraq and Pakistan to ship oil and liquefied natural gas from the region, according to the sources with knowledge of the matter. Iranian officials have said that they see that control as a long-term strategic goal. An army spokesperson said supervision of the waterway would generate revenue amounting to twice Iran's oil income, while strengthening its foreign policy leverage after this war ends. They will be no place for retreat, the spokesperson said. More than 1 month after Kenya's ceasefire took effect, US and Iranian demands embassies said the world red lines in China-US relations must not be challenged. In an email along the course, we listed them as the Taiwan question, democracy and human rights, class and political systems, and China's development right. Another post on X the embassy said China and the US to end the war living far apart. Washington has called for Tehran to establish nuclear program and tap its hold on the strait, while Iran has demanded compensation for war damage, an end to the US blockade and the halt of fighting on all fronts, including in Lebanon, where Israel is battling should explore the building of the standing, constructive and stable China-US relationship, reinforcing its broader diplomatic position. In another post on X, it further added, mutual respect, peaceful coexistence and win-win cooperation remain the right way for China and the US to get along. Iran backed Hezbollah. Trump has dismissed those positions as garbage. The Trump administration said today that senior US and China officials had agreed last month that no country should be able to charge tolls on traffic through the region in an effort to project consensus on the issue ahead of the summit. China, a major buyer of Iranian oil that maintains close ties with Tehran, did not dispute the count. On Wednesday, Chinese supertanker carrying $2 billion barrels of Iraqi troops sailed sailed through the sailed through the Strait of Hormuz. Ship tracking data showed marking third non-passage by a Chinese oil tanker Sudan, China. In the channel, since the US and Israel launched strikes on Iran on February 28. Other countries are exploring shipping arrangements similar to Tehran deals with Iraq and Pakistan. Sources said potentially entrenching Tehran's control of the waterway to its fertilizers, petrochemicals, and other bulk commodities vital to global supply chains normally flow. At the cost of the conflict mount, Trump said Americans' financial struggles were not reflected in decision making on the world. Data released on Tuesday showed that US consumer inflation accelerated in April, the annual rate posting its largest gain in 3 years as food, rent, and AFDS was asked to what extent the economic strain on Americans was motivating him to strike a deal. Trump replied, not even a little bit. I don't think about Americans' financial situation from said before leaving for China. I think about one thing, we cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon. Saudi launched covert attacks on Iran and worldwide and reports state from Riyadh or Dubai. Saudi Arabia launched numerous unpublished strikes on Iran in retaliation for attacks carried out in the kingdom during the West Asia War. Two Western officials briefed the matter and two Iranian officials said the Saudi attacks not previously reported mark the first time that the kingdom is known to have directly carried out military action on Iranian soil, and so it is becoming much bolder in defending itself against its main regional rival. The attacks launched by the Saudi Air Force were assessed to have been carried out in late March. The two Western officials said one said only that they were tit for tat strikes in retaliation for when Saudi Arabia was hit. The UAE also carried out strikes on Iran. Wall Street Journal reported on Monday officials said Saudi Arabia made Iran aware of the strikes and this was followed by intensive diplomatic involvement and Saudi threats to retaliate, further which led to an understanding between the two countries to de-escalate. UK Health Secretary resigns expected to challenge Starmer's leadership from London. Efforts to unseat British Prime Minister Keir Starmer broke out into open rebellion Thursday with one potential rival resigning from the cabinet and another clearing the way for her to enter any future leadership contest. Health Secretary Wes Streeting became the first senior minister to quit Starmer's cabinet on Thursday in what is expected to be a recusal to challenging his leadership. Starmer is facing growing pressure to step down after his Labour Party's disastrous results last week in local and regional elections. You have shown courage and statesmanship on the world stage, not least in keeping Britain out of the war in Iran's treating throughout in a letter. But where we need vision, we have a cube where we need direction we have cleared. It is now clear that we will not lead the Labour Party to the next general election, he added. Treating whose political ambitions have long been known is considered one of a handful of people who could try to unseat Starmer. Another likely challenger, former Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner, said Thursday that she had reached an agreement with tax authorities to clear up question about her taxes that caused her to leave the cabinet last September. Rayner told the Guardian newspaper that Starmer should reflect on his position, adding that she was ready to play my part in any leadership election if Streeting were to trigger a contest. The shell for Starmer to step aside had intensified since labor suffered disastrous losses in local and regional elections last week, underscoring water frustration with a government that has failed to deliver on pledges to boost economic growth and improve living standards for working people. Stagnant economy and stability. High consumer price inflation have made it difficult for Starmer's government to deliver on its promises after winning a landslide election victory less than 2 years ago. Apex court slammed Raj government over administrative apathy. Asked court state officials to appear before it on May 20. From New Delhi, slamming the Rajasthan government for administrative apathy and institutional paralysis. The Supreme Court on Thursday directed several top officials to remain personally present before it on May 20 to advise about the steps undertaken pursuant to the directions to stop illegal sand mining activities. The top court shared the conduct of the Rajasthan government reflected a wholly casual, indifferent and intolerant approach towards the grave issues prevailing in this matter, which relates to rampant illegal mining, irreversible environmental degradation, and the destruction of protected wildlife habitats within the National Chambal Gharial Sanctuary. The National Chambal Sanctuary, also called the National Chambal Gharial Wildlife Sanctuary, is a 5,400 square kilometer tri-state protected area. Besides the endangered Gharial long-snouted crocodile, it is home to the red-crowned roof turtle and the endangered Ganga's river dolphin, located on the Chambal River near the dry point. Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh and Uttar Pradesh, the century-wide first declared a protected area in Madhya Pradesh in 1978 and now constitutes a long and narrow eco reserve co-administered by the three states. The bench of Justices Vikramnath and Sandeep Mehta passed the order in a suo motu case titled the illegal sand mining in the National Chambal Sanctuary and threat to endangered aquatic wildlife. It directed the additional Chief Secretary of the Home Department, Principal Secretaries of the Departments of Mining and Geology, Finance, Forest, Environment and Climatic Change and Transport and Road Safety of Rajasthan to remain personally present before it on May 20. The NK gangster detained under PSA in Samha from Jammu. Over 38 cookies and Nagars held hostage by loose from Imphal. CBI searches at homes of Arcom's former top expectation. From New Delhi Central Bureau of Investigation CBI on Thursday conducted searches at 7 locations across Mumbai, Gurugram and Bangalore with connecting with the case registered against Reliance Communication Limited, one of the companies under the Anil Ambani-led Reliance Media Group. The searches were carried out at the residences of the then Chief Executive Officer, Chief Financial Officer, and Director of the company who served during the 2015-17 period. The raids were conducted on the basis of search warrants issued on May 14 by the Special Judge for CBI cases in Mumbai. The agency said the searches led to the seizure of the incriminating documents and that further investigations in the matter is underway. Senior officials said that over the past few months it was registered 7 cases against the Reliance Group following complaints filed by the various public sectors banks and the Life Insurance Corporation of India over alleged fraud inventory thousands of crores of rupees. The total alleged loss in these cases has been tagged at rupees 27,337 crore. Haryana extends tenure of Faridabad Canal Smart City project from Chandigarh. The Haryana government has extended the tenure of Canal Smart City Limited and its project management consultants until March 31, 2027. BJP deliberately depriving youth of jobs, LOPs, Punta says from Rohtak. Ahead of monsoon, Haryana holds flood drill in 13 districts from Chandigarh. Haryana conducted a first state level flood bomb drill simultaneously across 13 flood prone districts on Thursday to strengthen disaster preparedness and emergency response system ahead of the monsoon season. The exercise was aimed at drawing lessons from the flood witnessed in 2023 and 2025 and strengthening Haryana's preparedness-based disaster management framework. Haryana Financial Commissioner, Revenue and Disaster Management, Sumita Misra led the exercise from the state control room in her capacity as the state incident commander. The mock drill was conducted in Gurugram, Ambala, Fridakot, Faridabad, Fatehabad, Kaithal, Karnal, Kurukshetra, Tulang, Sonipat, Palwal, Sirsa, Sonipat and Jamnagar, which have been identified as high flood risk districts. Two separate simulation sites were identified in each district to match response mechanism under realistic flood scenarios. Mr. said the exercise was conducted to evaluate the state's disaster preparedness system, improve the interdepartmental coordination, validate emergency response mechanism and identify gaps requiring further improvement. He said the Haryana government was committed to developing a proactive technology-driven and community-centered disaster management system capable of responsibly responding swiftly during emergencies. For honor, King's government tutor in Ambala goes to SP Shinmol for dumping body. Accused tried to erase evidence, DSP says from Ambala. DSP Suresh Kumar said that in an attempt to erase evidence and hide the identity of the victim, the accused allegedly transported the body to an area falling under Majra police station in Madhya Pradesh district. There he set the body on fire as the police later recovered the body and initiated legal proceedings as per law. For common trial nabbed in honey trap rocket from Hisar contains a strong crematorium after women died of poisoning. From Hisar, the court of Bhavanpur Dhani village died during treatment at a private hospital in Hisar after allegedly consuming a poisonous substance after suspicious substances. Copper Deepika its pulse stellar show in Haryana class 10 results. Results of open school diploma in elementary education exam also declared from Bhiwani. Continuing the trend seen in the Haryana border, class plus 2 results, girls dominated the class 10 examination as well, securing top position and outperforming boys by a significant margin. Odisha relying on lynching accused held from Bhubaneswar. BJP. Kerala government to be run on remote control from Delhi. CM Jujan under IUML pressure from Delhi, the BJP on Thursday to strike at the Congress saying that its decision to appoint VD Satisan as the next Kerala Chief Minister exposes infighting within the party and shows that it would be a remote controlled government. The BJP asserted that the Chief Ministerial pick was not the choice of Congress MLAs but of the its ally, the Indian Union Muslim League, which is the second largest constituent of the coalition. Coalition United Democratic Front. The Congress on Thursday named Susi-san, Sati-san as the next Mega Chief Minister, ending days of suspense and speculation. The decision was announced at a press conference held by the ICC in charge Deepa Deshmukh and the party's central observer for the state, Ajay Makan and Mukul Bashuja. Three main contenders for the post were Satisan, K. Sivan and Ramesh Terithala. Make singing of one day. Must in school, West Bengal, Kolkata. In a world lost with symbolism. The West Bengal government has made the signing of Vande Mataram mandatory in morning assembly across all states, and state added schools with immediate effect. The directive issued by the School Education Department mandates that every student participate in signing the national song, in singing the national song before the commencement of classes, with school heads instructed to ensure strict implementation. The order comes against the backdrop of an increasingly assertive emphasis on national symbols in public discourse and follows recent moves by the Central to strengthen legal provisions concerning respect for national anthem and songs. Announcing the decision on the assembly premises, Chief Minister Suvendu Adhikari said, from next Monday, Vande Mataram will be introduced as the prayer song in all schools across the state. I will go to Nabana today and inform them later in a post on X, the Chief Minister, so to underscore the significance of the decision and said in supersession of all previous orders and practices, the government of West Bengal has mandated the singing of national song of Bharat, Vande Mataram, during the school assembly prayers before the commencement of classes in all schools under the School Education Department across West Bengal effective immediately. Kabaddi player murder competition held in Panchkula. Agriculture recruitment exam from June 1 to 12 from Patiala. Post sparse to Minister's brother admits mistake from Ambala. Nisar Court allows Rampal to appear online in sedition case from Nisar. Self-styled government Rampal and accused in the high-profile Gurwala Suklok Ashram sedition case has secured interim relief from the Hisar Court, which has permitted him to appear in upcoming hearings in video conferencing. The order passed by the Court of Additional Sessions Judge Jasmine Sharma, citing security concerns, long distance transportation issues, and the need to avoid disruption to judicial proceedings. Rampal's counsel, Advocate Mahinder Singh Nair, moved an application before the court seeking exemption from physical appearance and permission to join proceedings virtually. The police stated that bringing Rampal to court on every hearing requires extensive security complaints and knowledge to potential law and order challenges. It was also submitted that Rampal is already on bail and has been cooperating with the trial proceedings. The matter was originally listed for hearing on May 16. However, the police moved an urgent application on Thursday seeking early consideration of the plea. The prosecution also supported the request for virtual appearance, pointing to security-related concerns. After hearing arguments from both sides, the court allowed Rampal to appear through his seat. Until its final decision is taken in the application, the case pertains to the violent confrontation during a police operation at Satlok Ashram in Banwala in November 2014, when law enforcement agencies attempted to arrest one girl following court order. The operation witnessed large-scale violence resulting in multiple deaths and injuries to several police personnel. Subsequently, several FIRs were registered against Sankar and his followers under charges including sedition, murder, attempt to murder, unlawful activities, and obstruction of government duty. Ramkar was recently granted regular bail by the Punjab and Haryana High Court. Teen abducted from outside her home from Bhiwani. Punjab records 267 cases of found fires from Batinda. Uttar Pradesh is defining transformation over a new cultural awakening reflects UP's progress, governance, reform, leader, state's progress, women empowerment and well-being have taken center stage. Improved law and order has instilled investor confidence and security for the common man. Youth empowerment and skill enhancement are generating new avenues of employment. Agricultural prosperity has helped the state farmers become economically empowered. Transformative infrastructure and development have de-risked industrial development. Industrial growth and investments are generating new opportunities for revenue and jobs. Emphasis on tourism infra has made UP a preferred travel destination. Golden era of reform, resolve and results. Over 9 transformative years, Uttar Pradesh has witnessed a cultural resurgence alongside strengthened governance and administrative reforms that have enhanced transparency and efficiency. First efforts on women empowerment have improved safety, health and financial inclusion, while better law and order has boosted public and investor confidence. Youth empowerment through skill development and employment initiatives has created new opportunities complemented by growing agricultural prosperity for the state's urban. Major infrastructure expansion including spaceways and airports has accelerated industrial growth and investments, meanwhile tourism and MNC service sector have flourished, driving inclusive development and positioning the state as a dynamic and forward-looking economic hub. All under control in Khalsa College from Amritsar. No roads or water. Putpangi valleys, Chas, Batori heading water major district from Chamba. Two killers are conveyed into bars in Mandi from Kullu. NCB to study FPs and Chitta model enforced in other states from Shimla. Named in 13 FIRs, murder accused injured in shootout from Mahindragarh. High Court says explore multi-story parking at Lakkad Bazar. Existing proposal inadequate from Shimla. And newborn evacuated after sparks inviting small Nagpur host from Nagpur. ISI assistant professor arrested for active post on EVM. From Kolkata, Garga Chatterjee was remanded in police custody for 4 days. He said he was being framed for speaking on behalf of Bengali. Bengali speaking the truth cannot be crime. Bengali voices are being silenced, and he said while being taken into court. Power of judicial review and constitutional duty, Supreme Court in Subrimala case. Supreme Court in Subrimala case, power of judicial review and constitutional duty says cannot give up responsibility from New Delhi. The Supreme Court on Thursday said the power of judicial review is a constitutional duty. And it cannot give up its responsibility in matters of Social reform and welfare, the observation of the 9 Constitution Bench headed by Chief Justice Surekant came while hearing petitions related to discrimination against women at religious places including the Sabbakala temple in Kerala on the bit of religious freedom practiced by multiple faiths including Dawoodi Bohras, Justices B.V. Nagarajan, M.M. Sudresh, Ashanidun Amalwa, Aravind Kumar Avistrai, George Mashihi, Prashana B. Carol R. Mahadevan and Joy Balabachi are also part of the 9 bench. Senior Advocate K. Parmeshwar, who is amicus curiae in the matter, submitted that the primary responsibility for social welfare and reform lies with the legislature, which is constitutional mandate. But that does not mean the court is not empowered to certain circumstances. Parmeshwar argued that the judicial role is not that of an homogeneous reformer or a passive onlooker. Agreeing with his submission, the CJI said, "You are absolutely right that constitutional court can't give up its responsibility. That becomes rather that it's not a question of power, it's a constitutional duty of the constitutional court." Parmeshwar contended that the validity of religious rights should not be just based on factors such as rationality. There is a huge difference between faith and rationality. The moment who bring in rationality, Articles 26, 25 goes out of the Constitution with all due respect, he said, adding that the courts can interfere with religious criticism. Such intervention is necessary to preserve the liberty or integrity of people. The amicus requested the apex court to give a broad meaning to the term religious domination, saying we have inherited an Irish term. It is up to your lordship to Indianize it. By the hearing, commenced senior advocate Mukul Rohtuki, appearing for one of the intervener, submitted that 1986 writ petition challenging the Senat's judgment had effectively abated due to the demise of the original petitioners and the lack of the registered body to prosecute it. Rohtuki told the court that there had been no instance of excommunication in 75 years and dismissed the idea of an arbitrary authority. The top court reversed the verdict after hearing the parties for 60 days in the matter and asked them to find comprehensive written submissions by way of design. Shouldn't cut education or health budget to give subsidies? Shouldn't cut education or health budget to give subsidies? Owing to everyone, economist and former Bengal legislator Ashok Behri, who took over as the fourth vice chairman of NITI Aayog Friday. In his first interview since taking over the role, Behri outlined his priorities while backing high court important duties. Words from an interview with UI Siddhartha. Gender equality doesn't apply to religious rights government to Supreme Court. Advocates hands-off role by Supreme Court computing in a pro-religious practice stand the center for the 9 Supreme Court bench that the constitutional mandate under Article 25(1) entitling all persons equal freedom of conscience and the right to freely profess, baptize and propagate religion did not provide for gender equality. In his rejoinder, Solicitor General Tushar Mehta told a bench of C.J. Surekant and Justice B.V. Nagarajan, M.M. Sudresh, he said the expression equally entitled conveyed non-discrimination on the grounds of belief, faith, worship, religion, or denomination. Every denomination was entitled to prescribe different modes of worship, beliefs and rituals for men and women, he added, advocating the hands-off approach for courts in religious issues. Mehta said only the legislature could bring about social reform through wide deliberation and discussions by representatives of people in parliament or assembly. The courts may reform religion in the absence of legislation whenever they define that a practice offends the Constitution. There is no limit on the judicial reformation of religious traditions. Every denomination is national discipline. Every temple's mode of worship, every faith's institutional arrangements become permanently available for constitutional challenge. This consequence is not hypothetical. It has occurred in the Sabrimala case, Mehta Sheikh. He added that the Constitution did not envisage constitutional courts as the reformatory period overload of the religious traditions of 1.4 billion citizens. The bench reserved. Its verdict after 16-day hearing spread over 5 weeks. Senior Advocate Gopal Subramanian, PS Udhayanathan, Rakesh Trivedi and Rajiv Diwan agreed with us SG's stand. Subramaniam said Article 25C26, which calls for individual and group religious rights, operated on separate spheres and hence there could not be any conflict between them to warrant judicial interference for a harmonious interpretation by individuals. Every denomination had the right to practice, profess and propagate its religion, he said, adding, denomination survived because of its spiritual leadership, spiritual leader and its own inner strength. Bhavan, who appeared as a party in person, said Article 26 was not important as without denomination. There was no follower and no individual or trying to profess a religion without property and institution like temple, mosque or church. No denomination can survive. To manage the property and propagate its faith, the denomination needs autonomy reject for real service society. Vaidyanathan said it would be wrong to presume that without an individual's right to freedom of religion, there would be no denominational rights. The denomination's right to manage its religious affairs is not an aggregation of its individuals' members' personal right to practice religion. It is a distinct right vested in the denomination as a body, and it protects something collectively different. The community's authority over its own faith, doctrine, issue and governance. Bareilly man holding pink shirt flung into air. From Bareilly, woman gang raped in sleeper bus in Delhi, police arrest driver and conductor of bus from New Delhi. GD Goenka University is high for life admission open for academic year 26-27. turned NCR crime-infested region into India's Jewel. From Yogi Lucknow, 9 years of abuse, governance in UP transformed one of the most crime-prone regions of NCR into an investment hub that now qualifies to be called India's Jewel. Ornament, CM Yogi Adityanath said Thursday at the defining year of transformation recognized by TUI. Dual organ transplant at AIDS study after 18 years. Patient with from insulin dependence type 1 diabetes. The patient had severe diabetic complications including neuropathy, retinopathy and cardiomyopathy with his heart's ejection fraction reduced to 25%, making the surgery highly complex. From New Delhi, AIMS study has revised its simultaneous kidney pancreas transplant program. After 18 years successfully performing the rare and complex dual organ transplant on a 30-year-old patient from Haryana suffering from end-stage kidney failure caused by long-standing type 1 diabetes. The surgery can be potentially free but in patients from both lifelong insulin dependence and dialysis by treating diabetes and kidney failure targeting AIMS. Officials said the patient operated upon on April 14 is stable with good blood function and normal blood sugar levels with minimal insulin requirements. The patient had severe diabetic complications including neuropathy, retinopathy and cardiomyopathy with his heart's ejection fraction reduced to 25%, making the surgery highly complex. The transplant lasted about 2.5 hours, after which blood sugar levels improved rapidly and kidney function stabilized without further dialysis. The patient was discharged after about 2 weeks. AIMS had previously performed only 2 such procedures. India's first successful SPK transplant in 2004 on type 1 diabetes patient sugar patient Sagar Agarwal, followed by another successful dual transplant 2008 on Delhi-based patient Mohammad Nadeem. Doctors had then reported that both patients became free from insulin injection and dialysis after surgery. The latest transplant was performed by Professor D.K. Bansal and Professor Asul Krishna, along with Dr. Sanjeev Rai and Dr. Sushant Soren, with support from renal transplant specialist Professor Ashish Sharma, Dr. Deepesh from PGIML Chandigarh. The multidisciplinary team included specialists from surgery, nephrology, endocrinology and anesthesiology, with the anesthesia team led by Professor Rahul and Dr. Prashant. Nephrology support provided by Professor Deepankar Bhomik and Professor Sandeep Mahajan, and endocrinology expertise contributed by Professor Nikhil Tandon. Pancreas transplantation is particularly challenging because unlike kidneys, the organ cannot be donated by a living donor and requires a brain dead scheduled donor. In this case, the organ came from a 50-year-old brain dead donor at PGIM Rohtak. AIMS team traveled overnight for retrieval while coordination between Haryana Police and Delhi Police had created a green corridor for rapid transport to Delhi. Doctors described pancreas transplantation as among the most technically demanding organ transplants because the pancreas is extremely soft and sensitive and can get damaged easily during retrieval or surgery, leading to complications such as pancreatitis, bleeding, or graft failure. Which had only 5 or 6 centers in India actively perform pancreas transplants with a total number of such procedures estimated at only 150 to 200 so far. Currently, AIMS has 10 to 8 to 10 patients awaiting SPM transplantation. Post-operative care remains critical because transplant recipients are highly vulnerable to infection due to lifelong immunosuppressing medicines. Doctors said kidney, successful pancreas kidney transplantation can be life-changing for severe type 1 diabetes patients as most become almost insulin independent. West Bengal to crack down on loudspeakers, violating noise limit at religious places from Kolkata. West Bengal, West Bengal Chief Minister Subhendu Adhikari on Thursday directed the police to take strict action against the use of loudspeakers beyond permissible sound limits at religious places and events across the state. Officials said at a meeting with senior police officers in the state secretariat, the one of the chief minister stressed that noise pollution regulation must be enforced without exception and warned against any laxity in the implementation. Earlier, residents in several parts of the state had complained about loudspeakers emitting high decibel sound during festivals and religious events, often continuing beyond prohibited hours and causing inconvenience to patients, students, and elderly people. A clear instruction has been issued that loudspeakers at religious places cannot operate beyond the prescribed decibel limits. Police have been asked to act firmly in case of violation. The senior police officer present at the meeting told again. Airport blast and IAF 57.5 kV charge sheet. Revealed Operation Heavenly in fraud. From New Delhi, 6 months after the car explosion killed more than a dozen people near the red fort. The NIA on Thursday said it had filed a 500-page charge sheet against 10 accused and exposed a jihadi conspiracy being hatched by banned Ansar Gazwal ruled in and by the offshore. 2 India-bound tankers cross state, one vessel sinks after it. All crew members rescued by Omani Coast Guard from New Delhi. 2 India-bound liquefied petroleum gas. Tankers have crossed the Strait of Hormuz amid heightened tension in the region while an Indian-flagged vessel sank after being hit near the established shipping corridor, officials said on Thursday. LPG tanker Simi transited through the strait on May 13, while LV Sunshine Safety crossed the way on Thursday. This takes the total number of Indian vessels to have crossed the shipping channel, which had been effectively shut since the US-Israel strikes on Iran and Tehran retaliation more than 2 months back to 13. Idols vandalized at temple in UP's Ziroda from Ziroda. So the important was spirituality towards Kapoor family to settle dispute from New Delhi. Reporting spirituality in the multi-billion-dollar property dispute over great industrialist Sanjay Kapoor's estate between his mother and wife, in court on Thursday. Reminded them of the convenience of life and that it's always better to amicably resolve issues than fight endlessly. As the court directed media mediation processes, hit an obstacle before it started. Ranjit Kapoor's brothers Rani Kapoor and Arijit that two new independent directors were being appointed in the company to reduce her say, and Priya Kapoor contending that it was being done at RBI's directive. The bench of Justice Devi Pardiwala and Ujjwal Bhuvan appealed to them to be accommodative and not go to for mediation with a prejudiced mind. The court also directed that no director be appointed in the meantime, asking both parties to compromise a bit to resolve the dispute. Bench said we all came in to this world with empty hands, and we have to leave the world with empty hands. All we carry is our souls. We come with our soul and leave without a soul. BCI seeks information on Mamta's status and advocate from West Bengal. Massive. Missive comes after ex-CM appeared in High Court in advocate's attire for Delhi. Hours after former Chief Minister Mamta Banerjee appeared in advocate clause in the Calcutta High Court, the Bar Council of India on Thursday asked the West Bengal Bar Council to furnish a detailed report within 48 hours regarding her enrollment and professional practice status. Banerjee, accompanied by senior Trinamool Congress leaders Chandrima Bhattacharya and Kalyan Banerjee, appeared before the High Court to argue a case in connection with alleged post-poll violence and attacks on party officials. According to prevailing practice, a person who was holding a constitutional post or gainfully employed has to get the bar license suspended during the service and for practicing law again. The same has to be revived in a letter. The Bar Council of India directed the Secretary of the West Bengal Bar Council to furnish within 2 days complete reports relating to Banerjee's enrollment as an advocate, if any, and her practice status during and after her tenure as Chief Minister from 2011 to 2026. The communication issued by DCI Principal Secretary Sarita Montose stated that the Council had taken note of various media reports claiming that Banerjee appeared in court in legal attire including white advocate bands. Banerjee served as Chief Minister of West Bengal from 2011 to 2026, having regard to the constitutional public office held by her during the said period. Without expressing any opinion at this stage on the permissibility or otherwise of such appearance, the Bar Council of India requires the factual status of her involvement, practice, suspension, if any, and resumption, if any, to be verified from your records. The communication said the apex bar body asked the West Bengal Bar Council to furnish Banerjee's enrollment number and the date of her enrollment with the State Bar Council. I thank all my brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, students, scholars, teachers, trainers, professors, professionals, officials, listeners, learners. I thank all respected doctors and directors. I thank all honorable ministry managers. I thank all honorable advocates, district advisors. I thank all most honorable President Mr. Modi. I thank all listeners of this YouTube channel. Thank you. Nice to see all of you. Thank you.